is one of the most exciting things, I think, about art, and it may be one of the things that drew you, oh boy, here we go, I can't talk again, that drew you to possibly playing with acrylics or watercolors or gouache or anything fun that you want to express yourself with, and it can be kind of tricky. So let's talk about muted colors and desaturation. Muted color or desaturated color is when gray is added to a regular color or a full hue, like red or blue or green. And gray is created when you mix generally equal parts of black and white together. I'm just using craft paint. You can use this with craft paint. You can do it with watercolors. Pretty much anything. You can even find these muted tones in things like Tombow markers and crayons and different styles, different types of color. So all I'm doing is mixing the black and the white, and this is going to form a really dark gray. And of course you can see I'm making it a little bit lighter. I don't want it quite as dark as it is appearing to be. And once you get this, you can also purchase, like I have gray in this acrylic paint, but I wanted to make the gray first so you could see how this is done. You can purchase gray, or you can also make it by mixing black and white, as I said. Saturated and desaturated color. Saturated color is the full hue, the full color, red, blue, green, orange. And desaturated is when you make it muted or you tone it down. So I'm going to start with the red, and I'm going to mix a little bit of the red with a little bit of the gray. And I'm going to do this sort of backwards to what I've seen it done. Generally, when you're doing a grayscale or something like this, or making a muted color, you would mix a little bit of the gray with a little bit of the color like the red, and you would get the lighter tone. I'm going to do the darker tone first because it's easier for me to make things lighter and see them than it is to make them from light to darkest. And I'm just going to go down with these colors and show you what this would look like. I'm going to do the blue, and then I've got a couple of more colors. So I'll just let you take a peek at how this works. Okay, I've made the darker tones, and now I'm going to go back and I'm mixing just that regular pure yellow back into the color that I mixed with the gray. And this is how I'm getting a lighter tone or shade of that gray. So I kept the gray, and then I just mixed more of the yellow with it. I'm going to do the same thing with the blue and make that next line a lighter or less muted color of the one on the top. And now the same thing with the red. So this will make a little more intense color. It still has this gray undertone, but it's a little less dark, or it's not as dark as the one at the top. And now I'm going to go back and just add the regular color at the bottom, so you can really see the difference. When you start with the pure color at the bottom, there's a little bit of gray in the middle one, and then the top one has much more gray. I'm going to use a green now that has already quite a bit of, it's a yellow green, and I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to add the green and pull some of the gray in, and I'm going to have to just dip back in and grab some more white and black to make it a little bit of a darker gray, but I'll do that in a little bit. And you're going to see that this is very close to the other color because of the intensity of the yellow in this green. It's a little bit off, a little bit different color. But when I add this back in, you can really tell that this is a green and not the yellow like above it. And this is the fun thing when you do this. When you decide to just play with your colors and add gray to all of them, you find out really quickly some of them look a whole lot closer in hue and in color than you might think. And the only way to find this out is when you play with your colors. Now, I know that sounds crazy, and it's like, this is a total waste of time. Why am I just putting down these colors and making this color chart? It helps your eye get used to seeing the different tones and shades and tints. And remember, the tone is the one that is when you add gray to any color. So this helps you see how your colors work together. And if you want to do a painting or a drawing or something, well, not necessarily a drawing. You can use grayscale with a drawing, but that's a whole different story for another time. But it helps you see and recognize what color is and how colors play together. They're very friendly. They like to play together. So I've decided to drop in it one more color, which is the purple. And this one I mixed originally and it came out to the mid-tone. So that's another thing for you to think about, is that middle line is called the mid-tone. So the top line, I am doing so good, y'all. The top one is called the darkest dark. The middle is the mid-tone or the middle color, and the bottom one is the lightest light. And in this case, it is just the pure color that we're working with. And you use this when you're painting because you want midtones, darks, and lights. Okay, to give you an idea of how this works when you're actually putting down color and playing and doing all the fun things, I've just got 3 pieces of mixed media paper, and I'm going to just do some abstract fun stuff on it. So what I'm doing, you can see, is mixing gray with each of these colors that I have, and it gives it this cohesive look. Now the fun thing about this is when you mix gray like this and you make these midtones or you make these muted colors, everything works together. It just makes it this lovely, happy piece of work. And these 3 will go together quite well. And now what I've done is switched to watercolor. Yes, you can watercolor over craft paint, over acrylic paint easily, and it adds another dimension and a little more interest to your piece. I'm still, and you can't see, it's off camera, there's a kind of a gray color and then there's a black. Well, I'm using the black, I'm mixing it with white, and then I'm mixing it with, this is kind of an orange. So because I'm mixing black and white with the orange, I'm still getting this muted tone. I'm doing the purple now the exact same way. So as I go through this, I'm going to add the colors, and they're going to maintain this muted look because all of the colors are mixed with gray, which again I'm making by mixing black watercolor and white watercolor and then adding in the actual hue that I want to use. Now the fun thing with using these muted tones is a pencil works amazing because pencil is gray lead. It's not always very, very gray. Sometimes it's black, but it is amazing when you use a gray pencil. And this is nothing fancy. This is a Bic pencil. It's no big deal. It's just a Bic mechanical pencil, but it shows up well and it maintains this muted, subtle look. There's nothing harsh about it when I'm doing these marks and making marks and lines and all of these things. And I'm just following and looking to see what I can put where and how, and what images or what lines I can make, what marks I want to put in, just to add more interest and depth to the piece. You can see I've gone in and added some darker marks in there and some little bit of shading. Now this is the fun part, because I'm going to go in and use a Posca marker. White also works beautifully with muted tones because, okay, gray is made out of, black and white. So that tends to work beautifully. Because I wanted to keep this more of a subtle piece, then I used white and I used the pencil. And I could go back and use black within it, because again, this maintains, because gray is made out of black and white, so it keeps that subtle look to it, but black would have given it a little more of a pop, and I didn't really want that much emphasis going on. So I go back and forth between the Posca white and the pencil, and now I'm even going to add in some gold, and this really adds interest and brings another layer to these pieces that, are abstract and simple, but they're kind of fun. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is grab some chalk pastel. I've got white. Again, it's going to work because it's gray with black and white in it. And I've also got a teal that I'm going to pop some color in. And that teal is more on a muted side also. So that seems to work really well too. Don't be afraid to mix up and play with different mediums together and experiment, and enjoy the process. I'm just going to throw a little splatter on here and call it good. So have fun with what you're doing and consider muted tones something easy to work with and something to experiment with.